Hello, good morning, and welcome to Sunrise Daily this beautiful Tuesday morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. It's the 12th day in the month of August 2025, and Lagos, the weather is saying 25 degrees. What's it like over there, Kayla?
Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Kayla Megwa, and it is a rainy morning, Ayo. I'm tired. I'm tired of the rain. But we
Well,
need
you've
the
been
rain.
warned.
Thank you, Lord, for the rain.
You've been warned.
I'm just tired.
No, you've been
Every
warned.
day.
Remember, you've been warned that there's going to be a number of days, and Abuja is one of those cities, so you should have been prepared for it. Come on.
We knew. We thought it was going. We thought it was going to be a few days, and we're in August. When is the break? we need a break. We need time to dry things. Anyway, it's raining, and the roads are pretty slippery in the nation's capital. So please, for all of us who are driving, though it's not a dash. It's a marathon. All right. Think about the end game. Are you trying to get somewhere? Are you trying to hurt yourself? You know. So think about the end game. Be safe and drive very carefully. The rains are pouring and pouring. It's been pouring since about 4 a.m. You know. So and it's getting heavier as it continues.
Well,
but hey, welcome to the show. We have quite a number of things to talk about. What a day yesterday was, and the conversations around aviation safety, you know, customer relations. But you know, Ayo, with that situation with Ibom Air, there's a thing that came to my mind, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that as well. Standard operating procedures. Is it possible that at some point we may have to update or take a look at the standard operating procedures, not just for airlines, for government agencies, for businesses? It's a different world. Are we catering to the needs of the Nigerian now, or the Nigerian as we perceive them to be? It's lovely that the Minister of Aviation has said whoever released that video that exposed this woman's privates, you know, whoever brought out that video should be picked up. And that is a culture thing. We need to start addressing that, Ayo. It's important to videotape those sorts of things for evidence. Let's say there's a hearing or there's a court case. You want to be able to bring out the evidence of what happened. But the maliciousness of bringing it out and just putting it online for traction or for whatever, I agree absolutely with the minister. That person needs to be picked up. You know, and then look at the standard operating procedures for situations like this. Airlines, looking at the staff of the airline yesterday, it did feel like many of them were doing what they can, you know. But what are the rules of engagement when it comes to these kinds of situations? What do you do when you have an irate, unruly passenger? How is that handled? You know, in other parts of the world, we know that there's usually a special marshal on board. I don't think we do that in Nigeria. And, you know, that special marshal kind of takes care of unruly passengers or people who break rules and things like that. You know, maybe we need to update the standard operating procedures when it comes to customer relations in the aviation industry. Ayo, what do you think?
You know, I see about 3 issues here, and I'm going to play a Samadeyemi card this morning because anytime you ask him a question, he goes to principles. Well, you know, so the first thing that I see here is you've talked about the system, the standard operating procedure and everything like that. We had a guest on this program, Kela, if you remember. And one thing that he said when we were asking questions around whether or not, you know, our systems are doing what they're supposed to do and all, he said something. He said, we need to start to learn to trust our systems again. One of the things that is responsible for unruly behavior in our climate in particular, in most cases, is because we don't trust the system. That's the truth. A good number of people would rather take the law into their own hands, believing that the system is not going to support them anyway. So while what the minister said is something, whether or not we're going to hear anything about it, that again, I guess we'll wait to see. But so people have lost confidence in the system over time. Now, how we rebuild that trust in the system, that's a journey that we have to embark upon. That's the first thing that I see. Secondly, let's talk about the behavior of any passenger. You, Kayla, I dare say, have been on the aircraft with some people, hearing everyone say, switch off your appliances, put them on flight mode. That is the time the fellow is making a call. I have sat beside people and I've called attention. Chairman, switch off your phone. This matter is just 1 hour from Lagos to Abuja. You will not die. Nothing is going to happen. But no, they would rather still leave the phone on, not put it on airplane mode, and they don't. And sometimes I want to ask the guy, do you know what happens when you don't switch off your phone? Do you know what happens? I had reason to ask one fellow, he's an international flyer. I said, they said you should switch off your phone. He said, well, really, he gave me some
really
kind of,
the flight,
he gave me some kind of explanation. But he said something. He said, but if it makes you uncomfortable, I'll switch off my phone. And I respected that. But how many people do that? So many times when people are told simple instructions, if you go abroad, merely stay on the line, you stay on the line. But you come here into this country and you begin to behave like it's your father's land. Of course it is your father's land, but there are rules to everything. The third point that I see, Kayla, is the customer, client, the service provider and customer end. It's a difficult one, Kayla. Say you've seen that video years back when a presenter was on air and the guest took a chair on set and wanted to throw it at another guest right there in the studio. What do you do? Now, that's unthinkable. But we also have to recognize that when someone is giving an instruction, there is a reason for it. The people have, of course, cited the instance of the famous Fuji musician as well, and how the reactions that have been, in fact, the Morning Brief this morning did some good comparison, and a small poll they did, so a good number of people said it is selective justice. But of course, we'll leave that to the authorities to decide. But at the end of the day, we have to trust not just the system, we have to trust ourselves. Because this fellow is selling a product to you. As the person providing service to you, have to defend myself. That lady was assaulted, so what happens? And of course, the NCAA is coming out and saying all kinds of things about that one. I guess we just wait to see how these all play out. That's what I think, Kayla.
I mean, you know, we are going to be chatting together for a few minutes, you know. But I wanted to use this opportunity this morning to speak to women. I mean, a lot of women are very angry, right? And understandably so. I'm angry. But you see, there's something that we have to learn. And that thing is how to breathe. And no, not to blow Ayo's horn. but I will. Over the years that I've known Ayo, Ayo, you always try to tell me, breathe, calm down, breathe. When you're aggravated, when something has upset you, when someone has made you feel small, or someone has offended you, the first thing to do, and I think every woman should try this, young, old, we should teach our daughters this, breathe. Sometimes the solution comes after you do nothing. I know that in many cases you feel the need to stand up for yourself. You want to stop this person from making you feel the way that you are feeling. This person has no right to make you feel this small. Or breathe. Just take your time, breathe. My priest used to say, breathe until your stomach is big. Breathe until your stomach feels big. Then bring it back in. Just breathe. And do nothing. You know. Because most of the time when you're aggravated, and you hear a lot of people, a lot of motivational speakers say this to you all the time. Even when you're extremely happy, breathe. When you're extremely angry, breathe. Remember to stop and just breathe.
There are some
it will give you some perspective and make you start thinking about the end game. Okay, absolutely. I'm in a situation. What do I want out of this situation? So it's not just about this flight incident and the lady who were all very upset. In many quarters, many balls were dropped.
Yeah.
But the lesson, really, for many women out there, and if you're listening, I'm doing it too. I'm learning. I'm learning to breathe.
No, don't let's talk about that one for now. Okay, we know your breathing process, but you know there are some people that are not going to be breathing, and they have been breathing for maybe about 35 years or before they turn 60, and they have breathed for long enough. and they are the pensioners. They came out to.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see some videos soon on air. They had to. When I saw the video of these pensioners protesting, the first thing in my head was, wait a minute, is this Lagos State pensioners? And then we contacted the Lagos State government officials, and you know, the information they gave us was that, look, it's not Lagos. That Lagos has paid more than 20,000 retirees, almost 71 billion naira, and that they even get free healthcare for 2 years after they have retired. But the people you are seeing here, they are federal pensioners protesting in Lagos. If you go to our website, channelstv.com, you will see that that story is more about retirees under the auspices of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, representing various agencies, including NITEL, FRCN, that's the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Railway Corporation, protesting yesterday their unpaid entitlements of guess how many months? 35 months pension arrears and non-payment of 35,000 naira palliative. Let's listen to them for a few seconds, and then Kayla, you take it up.
It's an unsightly scene playing out at the Tafawa Balewa Square area of Lagos Island. As members of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners representing various federal establishments, including Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Voice of Nigeria, NEPA, NIPOST, NITEL, Nigeria Railway Corporation, stage a protest over unpaid entitlements. These should ordinarily be relaxing and enjoying their retirement. But here they are on the street again with tales of neglect.
I don't have money. I can't eat well. If I eat in the morning till night again, by then I will be seriously hungry. Salary, 17,000.
Somebody somewhere is trading with the money and the pensioners are dying. I saw you interviewing an aged woman who is about 100 years old. Now, if that kind of a woman is on the street, they will say she's a witch. It is the present government that make old people to look like witches. We are not witches.
The leadership of the coalition of the federal pensioners blamed the Minister of Finance and the Pension Transitional Arrangements Directorate, PTAD, for all the anomalies in their paychecks, including unpaid entitlement of up to 35 months for some of their members.
On September 2023, we don't know why that PTAD slashed our money under pretense that they are doing back-end computation. Some of us, they send almost 15,000, 11,000 for our monthly pension. Up to now, we are kind of like they are promised everyone they will return it, although they are not returning it.
For now, they say the 32,000 naira increment by the federal government has to be implemented immediately.
I once heard the finance minister talk about payment and making a proviso saying it will be subject to availability of funds. And whatever is left, only whatever is left, then that's when pensioners will be given their own. That's not acceptable.
An attempt to get the response of PTAD in the Lagos office didn't sail through, as we are referred to the Abuja office.
They should pay us our money. That's how the money do. They are stealing the money from the treasury.
It's quite unfortunate that for some of these retirees who are in their 70s going to 80s, life is no longer as interesting as it should be, simply because our entitlement as low as 32,000 naira minimum wage hasn't been paid, and they can't meet demands on them or responsibilities on them. And they say they would continue to agitate until government meets their demands. From Lagos Island, Chris Alems, Channels Television News.
One of the saddest things to see is when a person who spent so many years serving their country, working, and then it's time for your pension. And that's when you start to see stories like this, see people's parents on the street. I'm going to just break it down. They are NITEL, these are staff of NITEL, MTEL, FRCN, FMW, Nigeria Railway Corporation, protesting the unpaid entitlements. Thank you there, Chris Lems, for that reporting. But just so we can get some more perspective on this story and a few other stories in the news, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Sam Kagbo, joins us via Zoom. Good morning.
Do you want me to just mute myself?
Morning, Mr. Kagbo. It's nice to have you with us.
Morning, and thank you for having me this morning.
All right, let's talk a little bit about these pensioners and this recurring decimal. People work for years, then it's time for their pensions, and they have to protest for that. What do you make of this story?
It's unfortunate, because if for anything, these are old people who had given their entire life to the state. They had worked for the state, and it's time for them to retire and enjoy their old age. If you now hold on to their own pension, then obviously you want them to die. You're accelerating their way to their graves. It's unfortunate. We should have a culture that respects the old. We should have, because that's actually the African culture. We respect the old people, and we believe that they are capable of interceding for us. But if we neglect them the way we are neglecting them, and some of them now, look at it, they now have to go to the street to protest. That's, to me, very, very unfortunate.
I mean, it's a very sad story there. All right, so let's see if we can get you to talk about a few other stories in the news. And of course, we'll be following up on this protest and these pensioners to ensure that the right thing is done by them. This is disappointing. Let's move on now to another story that shocked a lot of us. The EFCC questioning Tambuwal over this 189 billion naira withdrawal. Well, the details really, the details of this particular situation are a bit, they're not very clear to us. What we do know is that yesterday we heard that the EFCC is questioning him about these withdrawals. They're calling them illegal withdrawals, and it's a lot of money. Just some explanation on this. What's your thoughts on this, Mr. Kagbo?
Well, it's long been coming. Because this the Sokoto government, the moment it got into power, it instituted what do you call them now? They investigated the previous government, and they set up a committee which looked into the finances and the transactions of Tambuwal's government. And it's long been coming because they worked for almost 2 years. This is the end part of it. Usually, when you make your findings and you make your own recommendation, the next thing is you take your finding to the prosecutorial agencies, and I think that's what they've done. And I am not one that would lose my sleep over anybody making a government official or a past government official to be accountable, because that's the way it should be. If you had worked for the state and you had occupied a particular office, especially that of the governor, there is every reason for you to account. And the issue of whether or not you are being persecuted is not there, because in any case, if there is no evidence against you, there is nothing they can do. Nobody can frame you up. Nobody can hook up evidence against you. So I would think that let's leave the politicians to do their games. Let's concentrate. Yeah, because I know, you know, they will sort themselves out.
It's so sad. We've gotten there as a people, haven't we? It's them again. Let them, Yeah, let them cancel each other out. They'll sort themselves out. You know, but these funds is our money, isn't it? It's public money. That's the way, at least I and a few other people look at this situation. This is the accountability is also so we can know what is happening to the taxes that we're paying, to the monies that we're giving to government, you know, to the revenue that is supposed to be used for the development of the people. While we are at a point in our lives as a nation where we're looking at the political class and thinking, we don't know if you can be trusted anymore. The accountability question, isn't that something we should be interested in? And how do we follow through on those questions as regards accountability when it comes to public funds?
I think I've always said so. It is our duty to make public officers accountable and to make sure that we prevent them from appropriating state resources, because the consequences are there. If you see why we are where we are now, basically it's because over the years public officers have actually misappropriated public funds. But this is not to say I'm not in any way making any conclusion, because in any case, now that EFCC involved, I would think that the matter will go to court. So we'll give everybody his due. Like I have said, it's an investigation, and if the investigation has credence, so be it. If it doesn't, he'll be discharged.
All right, I think we do have a few things that we need to speak about before we wrap up on this conversation. Of course, we saw the confirmation that Akpabio is well. We saw that from Mr. Gbenga Daniel. Maybe you would like to speak to that. And the presidency, I mean, since we're talking about wellness, the presidency is denying any reports of the president's being ill. And I think this conversation about the health of the president, I think it started when the Tigresses came back, and the vice president was one who represented the president at that particular event. So a lot of people say, asking, oh, where is the president, you know? What do you make of these speculations about people being ill and then having to get clarifications from the presidency in the case of the president? And we're seeing for Akpabio, Gbenga Daniel is one who's confirming that he's well. What's going on here? Why the ambiguity around these situations?
Well, I think we are right to be concerned about the health situation of those who are leading us, because he said that you find a sound mind in a sound body. They need to be well to do their work, because their offices are very, very impactful. If the office of the Senate President is a very serious office, and there are talk of that of the President, so there is nothing really wrong for people to show concern, but the only thing I would say is that we should not rush into conclusion, and we should not make the public to get panicky. If we don't have the right information, we tarry and try to be as cautious and tentative as possible, so that we don't give the impression that we are talking in absolute terms when we do not have the facts, you know.
All right, my colleague in Lagos has a few questions for you. Go ahead, Ayo.
Thank you, Kayla. But let me very quickly bring this information to us. Some of us are quite aware of already that there are protests in the Federal Polytechnic Bauchi right now, because students were robbed last night around 2 a.m. Some of them, we understand, were stabbed. And of course, we will bring you more on this as events unfold. But this is the information that is just coming across now, that students in the Federal Polytechnic Bauchi are protesting insecurity in their school. Students, we understand, were robbed in the middle of the night, and some of them were stabbed. This is not one of those things we want to see, SAN, Mr. Kabo, but this is what where we find ourselves. One of the most troubling things is that these students are scandalized for life about, you know, this kind of situation. What do you make of it?
Well, you captured it very rightly. These are students, these are young men who are in school to learn. And if they are exposed to the environment and the way they've been exposed, all of us should be concerned because what if they had killed some of them? You know, mind you, those who want to stabilize the state, usually they go to the heart of the state. They war onto the very critical segments of the state. This one around is the education. What they want to do is to make sure that parents want to think twice to send their children to schools, especially if the schools are, are somewhat outside the vicinities of the state capitals or the towns, you know, because they are vulnerable. If you do not give them good security, they are vulnerable. That was what happened to the Chibok girls. You know, let's be thankful that this one is just about some being stabbed. What if they were captured and taken away? You know, the the pictures and the trauma of the Chibokers would have been thrown at us all over again. So I would think that the state government, because these are their own domain, they should try as much as possible to provide security for their universities and polytechnic and even their secondary schools. You know, because once they've started, sometimes this may be a catalyst. It will egg on others to do the same thing. Because as we march on to the next cycle of election, all manner of non-state actors who want to destabilize the state, they will be putting in their own tools to make sure that the place become ungovernable and to threaten our own security.
You know, one thing, Mr. Kagbo, that I'd like to ask you about this as we round off this segment is this. There is usually that thing said that the federal government is the one in charge of security and that the state governments can barely do much about it. Do you buy that rhetoric? In the same vein, we hear that the governors are the chief security officers of their states. Do you buy the rhetoric that the governors in the states cannot do anything?
The federal government, no. The federal government is only a second layer. Their own is complementary. The federal government's role is complementary. It is for the states. The states are the ones who are creating these institutions, and they are the ones who are supposed to guard them and make sure that the students there are protected. This idea of sharing responsibilities and passing the buck, to me, I'm not impressed by that. I've always said so. The security starts with the states. Security starts with the local councils. It goes to the state before it goes to the federal government. So let them do their job. Let them stop passing the buck. Yes, sometimes they would need the agencies of the federal government because sometimes some of the security challenges are very expensive and are very massive in what do you call it now, addressing them. So they may need the attention of the federal government, but let them start doing something first. Let the public see them doing something before they now say, oh, we've tried our best, and we would have thought that at the points at which we are, the federal government would have stepped in to give us what?
So you don't agree when they say, my apologies, Mr. Kagbo, you don't agree when the state governments say that they don't have police apparatus, they don't have a military apparatus, that everything is under the purview of the federal government and they can't control them. Consequently, they don't have anything to prevent insecurity with. You don't agree?
I do not. If you check the security architecture, who are the people who constitute them? Who are the people who constitute them? Mind you, the president does not take a decision by himself. He has to rely on the advice of the Security Council. He has to rely on the advice of the Defense Council. He has to rely on the advice of the IG. He has to rely on the advice of the NSA. All of this, they advise, and all of these institutions and agencies, they liaise with the state governors, and they discuss state matters. And In fact, there is hardly any time they meet that they do not discuss security issues. But the federal government is usually the fall guy. That's what they do, because when they want to shirk responsibility, they say, "Oh, we are not." But every day the commissioner of police come to you. I have an understanding of how it works. Every day, the commissioner of police briefs you, and the security agencies in the state, they brief you on what is happening, and they give you advice, and they give you red flags, they tell you what is happening. But most of the time, some of them, when they divert the security funds, they now blame the federal government.
Well, Mr. Samkagu, we have to thank you so much for your perspectives this morning, and let's just hope that they don't come for you for saying that there is something that they can do that they're not doing. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Samkagu is a senior advocate of Nigeria. We appreciate your time and perspectives.
Thank you very much.
Now, to that aviation issue, now don't forget that just recently, an Ibom Air passenger, which of course people have been talking about a little longer, assaulted a cabin crew on an Uyo-Lagos flight and was charged and remanded in custody. The airline operators of Nigeria have imposed a lifetime ban on her, and there are also questions around the legality or otherwise of that one. Of course, the aviation minister, Festus Keyamo, has also vowed to sanction the staff or any staff who leaked that indecent video of the particular episode. And we also have that report from Mr. Peter Obi urging that the prosecution be fair and not selective. Of course, there are those who have said that he is drawing a comparison between what happened previously when a famous musician was standing in front of an aircraft and this particular one. Let's have conversations with those who should know this morning on our program. Captain Musa Nuhu is a former Director General of the NCAA, as well as Captain Boaz Agbonifo, who is a pilot. Both of them join us via Zoom. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome, sir.
Well, Captain Agbonifo, let me come back to you. I don't know if you have such historical antecedent, but I'd like you to speak to the action of the crew. As what I have been made to understand is that the captain on a flight is the head of the team, and consequently, one of your primary responsibilities is to protect your crew. So when you heard that, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
The first thing that came to mind is we have training where it says that if you have an unruly passenger, the flight attendant is allowed to let us know that, hey, this person is unruly, they're not complying, and we have to make the decision to say, okay, can we calm this person down, or are we going to kick this person off? Yeah, I saw the videos. I didn't want to speculate anything, but from what it looked like, I don't think even the captain was aware of what was going on. It looked like the flight attendants or flight attendant in question, probably the lead flight attendant, decided to take the executive decision of detaining and just keeping her in there. I feel like it's definitely, as a captain, you're going to either try to, dissolve the issue, or if you need to remove the passenger, then you contact ground control. Ground control is going to send security agencies, and they are trained on de-escalating, and they are trained on how to remove passengers effectively.
Okay, so you don't think there was, are you saying that maybe there were gaps in the process from what you've seen so far?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So one of the things, when Kayla and I, my colleague, were talking about this earlier, I saw three things. Number one, the fact that the lady was told to switch off her phone, and she did not switch off her phone, and somehow, miraculously, they were able to come to Lagos, and then all of that occurred. So that's, on the one hand, the issue of disobedience to the authorities that the pilot and the cabin crew give. How rife is that, and really, how significant is it?
So I get this question a lot. What's the benefit of putting your phone in flight mode? The two things. Number one, if it's one phone, it's not a problem. I think Mr. Mike spoke on it earlier, and he was right. It's not a problem if it's one phone. It becomes a problem when your phone is not in flight mode, and all the phones are trying to get network, for lack of better terms. Now, these can definitely interfere with the aircraft systems, such as the radar altimeter, radio altimeter, different systems that could be affected. Now, it is the airline's policy. At the end of the day, the airline offers a service to people. If you decide to fly on that airline, it means you have accepted to take their service, which also means you have to follow their rules and regulations. And I tell all my passengers this is our airline's policy for your phones to be in flight mode. If you do not want to do it, that's fine. You can easily go ahead and get on another airline that will allow you to have your phone on.
I'm glad you get this, this question a lot. So this is, I don't know what you want to call this lecture that you want to give us now, 101. Is it cabin service 101 or whatever it is? Because a good number of people, and I'm sure you get it a lot, okay? Many people are on the aircraft, switch off your phones, they will not switch off their phones, and then all kinds of things happen. And so please, for the benefit of the people watching you and listening to you right now, give us the education. You've talked about the fact that it affects the systems, but people don't understand how that can happen. Come on, it's a phone. How sophisticated can the phone be to affect the functioning of such a massive aircraft as that?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, the technology is not at a point where everything can go hand in hand. You need to understand that there's a saying in the aviation world that the rules and the regulations are built in blood. It is such a safety precaution where we don't want a situation, or the safety people don't want a situation where, because phones are left on, it now interferes with your radar, or it now interferes with your GPS. You're supposed to be going Lagos to Ore, and because someone's phone, I'm not saying, I'm just exaggerating now, because you're supposed to do Lagos to Ore, you end up doing Lagos to Benin, for instance. So just because of the safety, the professionals have said, or the experts have said, hey, just let everyone switch off their phone. It's going to be easier for us to handle. And I feel like that's just what is going on. There's no proving, or I don't think there's any proof that says, okay, if all the phones are on, the aircraft will crash, or if you go to this country and leave the phones on, I don't think anything has happened like that. I don't think a phone has actively caused a crash. However, there's nothing like being too careful.
Okay, I hope we have Captain Nuhu with us now on this call, because one of the issues that one would like to find out are the regulations. The second thing that I saw, and I'm sure my colleague Kela will also want to get in on this conversation shortly, but the second thing that I saw that I told my colleague earlier, and I'd like you to speak to it, is the system. It will seem like we have what I can call civil disobedience. Okay, when people don't seem to trust the system, and it also kind of reverberates in the way we respond to whatever issues are raised with us at any given point in time. We get an instruction from any official, we're disobeying it simply because we do not trust the system. How significant is that in the process that you saw so far?
Yes, you're absolutely right. The passengers, both issues definitely did not trust the system. Now, for us, we're trained to say the flight attendants act as our representative, and failure to follow their instructions is a violation of federal law. I do not know if that is in the training manuals for the pilots in Nigeria, but I can tell you that the system we have here is you have to listen to the flight attendants, or you're going to get put out of the plane. There's no two ways about it. You have to trust that they know what they're doing, they are trained in it. And the truth is, the only time they respect these flight attendants is when we have to do an emergency landing and when we have to evacuate. Suddenly, everybody's listening to what the flight attendants are saying, because, oh, now you're about to die, you're scared, and then boom, flight attendant becomes God. But until something drastic like that happens, it seems like they want to downplay the roles of the flight attendants.
When it comes to that, Captain Boaz, the situation when it comes to the relationship between flight attendants and the the passengers on the plane, I want to be able to get your thoughts on the standard operating procedure for these sorts of situations. I have been of the opinion, since this situation happened, that standard operating procedures for unruly passengers, for people who have senior moments, for people who have mental health issues, for all of them, I feel like those SOPs need to be upgraded, especially when it comes to aviation in Nigeria. Because, like you mentioned, there are gaps in the way the cabin crew handled the lady's situation on that Ibom Air flight. Maybe you could help us talk to a few of the gaps that you noticed, and the issue of upgrading our standard operating procedures for irate passengers and other kinds of situations in the aviation industry in Nigeria.
Okay, so the first gap I noticed was I did not see where the cabin crew, as the flight attendants, called the pilots to say, hey, this is what's going on. The second gap I noticed is when the lady in question hits the flight attendant, nothing was done. Someone decided to start making a video. I say it all the time. Instead of making a video, why don't you try and resolve the issue? But social media these days is, oh, I want to be the one who posts the video. Now, for the entire situation, there are three people I blame. Number one, the security agencies. Number two, the flight crew, the entire flight crew, captain, first officer, and flight attendants. And number three, the ground personnel. There should be some form of training to bridge conflict resolution among all three. Where, okay, if this is happening, we have an unruly passenger who makes the final call of kicking them off. Okay, who now decides to kick them off? From what I saw, it was almost like it was the ramp agents were the one that were bringing her out. That's not done anywhere except in Nigeria. You have police, you have airport police. The reason for airport police, that is literally, other than protecting lives and well-being, is for situations like that where if you have to take someone out, because the police is not just police for, like I said, protecting lives. They are also a form of sensitive security. When you see a police officer and he says, hey, you have to do this, you have to respect his authority. Nothing like that was done. Instead, it seems like the ramp agents took the laws into their hands to forcefully remove her. And then she was also assaulted in the process. So I don't know what the training is like in Nigeria, or how they get their training done on who is who. And if you now relate the same thing with what happened on the guy's case, I think they said he's a musician or something. Yes, it's looking like selective justice because nobody did that to him. But it can't be like, say, because in Nigeria, when they say nobody know, she can just get the whole brunt of the law. And for him, he came out apologized. For her, I don't know, but I don't think she's even been given an opportunity to apologize. I heard this morning that she's in Kirikiri prison, and I'm like, wait, when did the judge preside on this? When did all of these things go on? I went on the internet and I said, yeah, it's social media.
All right, I think we have Captain Nuhu, Captain Musa Nuhu, former DG NCAA, join us via Zoom from Canada as well. Captain Nuhu, can you hear us? Good morning.
Good morning, I can hear you. Thank you very much.
All right, so we were just speaking with the pilots there, Captain Boaz, and he said that he noticed some gaps in the handling of the irate passenger, the unruly passenger, as well. People have been calling her the unruly passenger on that Ibom Air flight. Did you notice any gaps in the standard operating procedure for that sort of situation when you looked at that video?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, the video that was played, I don't think it showed the entire event. It just showed one part of the event. So it's a problem to really.
Okay, I think we're having a bit of an issue with the audio there from Captain Nuhu. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay, so please continue your train of thought, please.
Okay, sorry, I'm actually at the airport. I'm transit, so I'm using the headphones. Okay. So anyway, unruly passenger should not be condoned.
Oh, we lost that connection to him. Captain Boaz, I think I'm going to come to you. So I think we've lost the connection generally. It's one of those things when we have Zoom situations, But, talking about some of the gaps that have been noticed, and that was what the conversation was earlier, wasn't it? We're taking a look at some of the situations and how we move from one place to the other. What's the procedure for all of these situations? And Captain Nuhu, if you can hear me, yes, you were trying to land on your train of thought. You said the visual that we saw doesn't tell the entire situation. It just shows us a bit of what's happened. But a bigger video, longer video, maybe we won't be able to get that. But investigations maybe will help us to understand what fully happened in that situation. But like the captain was saying, or like the pilot was saying, that you see, it didn't feel like. He felt like it was the men who handled the ramp that were the ones bringing her out, and that violence and that assault that we saw, even though she assaulted as well. Just your take, really, on that whole scenario, if you can help us with that.
Well, the whole scenario is very unfortunate. It was not properly managed, and it was allowed to escalate at the funds. And I would say, maybe you didn't hear me, even the International Civil Aviation Organization, the apex body on civil aviation, takes the matter of unruly passengers seriously, and even has a protocol called the Montel Protocol 2014 as amended, which Nigeria is signatory to that protocol that deals with the issues of unruly passengers. It gives guidelines on how to deal with unruly passengers. So if we want to do training, we want to make sure all the entire ecosystem, aviation ecosystem, knows how to deal with the unruly passenger situation. There are guidelines there for them to follow and implement. It's unfortunate passengers behave that way, but as much as we condemn the behavior of the passengers and unacceptable to assault any flight crew for whatever reason, because it deals with the safety and security of a flight operation, it is totally unacceptable to accept that. But however, we need to look at this growing trend of unruly passengers in Nigeria, and we need to determine the root cause. The only way we can come up with a solution that will resolve this matter is to deal with the root cause. These behaviors are symptoms, and a thorough and proper and appropriate investigation must be done to deal with this issue of unruly passengers. It's totally unacceptable. And I don't know what the captain said. Apparently, he was there. He must have seen some gaps on how the situation was dealt with. And that shows we have issues, systemic issues that must be resolved. First of all, to identify possible unruly passengers and deal with the situation before making those type of fun. And when actually passengers become unruly, and how to handle the situation by escalating it. Try to escalate the situation, don't let it get out of hand. And also, when it gets out of hand, there are procedures on which to deal with passengers that get out of hand. And unruly passenger just disobeying the command of a flight attendant or a flight captain as part of the definition of unruly passenger. So, unfortunately, there are some passengers, I'm not condemning all the time, but there are certainly some passengers that have issues and believe nobody can talk to them because you bought an air ticket. Well, you can just do whatever you like to do on flight. That is not acceptable. Also, there's responsibility of this.
Yeah, my sincere apologies, Captain Nuhu, that we have to button at this time because we're running completely out of time. I'm hoping that one of these days, when we have you around, we'll be able to have this conversation more elaborately with you, because issues are not going to go away unless they are dealt with decisively. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Captain Musa Nuhu is a former DG of the NCAA. And we have to thank you as well, Captain Boaz Agbonifo, who is also a pilot. We appreciate your time, gentlemen, for your perspectives this morning. And that's the show this morning. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your day. I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your wonderful day.
And I'm Kayla Magwa. Have a great day ahead.